So today, an interesting theme emerged, and that theme was assumptions. I was at two different places today, on two different occasions, and it was interesting to see how this particular theme emerged throughout the day. So the one place I went to, the gentleman was just very, very upset. It was clear that he was emotional about whatever, his situation, and um, he made a point that he was, he had been in the industry, the same industry as the place that he was doing business with for 30 some years. And, this is how it is. And he started quoting laws and all these different things. And so the assumption he made was really incorrect. Um, and it really was a detriment to him, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you do business, you're doing business with someone else, so you can't really dictate how someone else does business based off of how you do business within your own sphere or within your own company. The law is the law, but it doesn't, what the law he was quoting had no relevance to the issue that he was complaining about. And so that was one assumption that was an epic fail on his part. And at the end of the day, one, you don't ever sign anything without reading it, and just make sure that, he assumed that because his business does it one way, that everything would be the same way, and it wasn't. So that was a terrible assumption. And so he ended up being very angry because it cost him financially, and he was concerned about some other things. And so that was one lesson. And another thing was, I was at a store, and this customer in line in front of me made the assumption that because the person behind the counter was a male, that that individual was interested in boxing. And so he proceeded to, quote in his own words, school the young man about the history of boxing, and started going into all of these different boxers and different things. And so the young man, was like, let me ring up the next customer, and so on. But it was clear that based off of his body language, he wasn't interested in that. And so I found it interesting that this gentleman chose to make the assumption that because he was a male, he would be interested in sports. And so as I went out, he, tried to get me. And my thing was, everybody is not interested in boxing. I know I'm not. If that's something that a group of us, if I'm out with some friends and we're at a sports place and that's what's on, okay, fine, no problem. But I'm not the kind of person just to sit around and watch boxing, and then especially to the extent that I want to even know about the history of it. So why is it okay for you to assume that everybody is interested in boxing when they're not? That might be what you're interested in, but don't assume that because he was a male, he would be interested in it, particularly a young male. What if he's just interested in business and industry and, whatever the case may be? You just made a terrible leap for what? And you possibly embarrassed him or made him uncomfortable because of an assumption. One of the things about assumptions is it really does a disservice to the person who's making the assumption. It's really not about the other people per se, although sometimes assumptions can, based on how we react or how we act out in the assumption, can affect the other person by making them uncomfortable or embarrassing them or whatever the case may be. And so we want to be careful about assumptions, because at the end of the day, it's more of a reflection on us than it is on the other person. So just something to think about as you kind of work on personal development. Think about assumptions and how you go about acting out on them. So this is me, a very, very tired classified lady, signing off, sending you lots of love and light. Until next time, ciao.